Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Hope you enjoyed that little beginning of Irish music for the occasion. Welcome. I started a little bit early tonight because I wanted to get the show on the road as soon as I could. So, how is everyone doing this evening? Dave T, how are you? Zelda Z, Podfather, Teresa, good to see you. Patty, Sweet Tea, Tammy, Carmela, good to see you. Let's get on camera here. What am I doing? How are we doing? How are we doing? How are we doing? As you can see, we are in full regalia here. Full St. Patrick's Day regalia. Hello, Emmanuel Spatato. Good to see you. Osada Treats. Good to see you. All right. Thank you guys for joining. I am so happy for you to spend a little time with me on this Friday night, Friday before St. Patrick's Day, because it's the 14th, right? So there you go. So tonight I have some interesting stories for you. I hope you're going to enjoy them. What do you think of Lenny's necklace here? It's pretty cool, right? And if you notice, Victor has his own little hat back there. Own little hat. He's really in the spirit. So you couldn't hear the music, Carmela? Well, I don't understand that. That was really annoying. I don't know why that happened. I was trying to share directly from YouTube, a YouTube channel that was non-copyright. So I don't know why you couldn't hear it. It wasn't muted on my end. I don't know why it's not coming through. Well, anyway, so much for that. But hey, Fancy Nancy, good to see you. Yeah, Snoopy has his shamrocks. That's why I'm wearing him tonight. Empow, good to see you. Lenny needs the Kiss Me I'm Irish shirt. Yeah, I don't have one of those. He does need that, but he doesn't have any problem getting kissed. All right, so let's get started, shall we? Let's light our candles. There's one. And there's two. And my candles are getting kind of low here. I got to get new ones. Our backup candle over here, off camera. All right. So, St. Patrick's Day. Why would St. Patrick's Day go with ghost stories? Well, it's interesting. My research told me that in the late 1800s, it was indeed a tradition to tell ghost stories on St. Patrick's Day. Now, when you think about it, at that time, there wasn't much to do, right? Telling stories was really the main entertainment of the day, prior to radio, prior to television. So telling stories on holidays like this, family holidays, Christmas, in Ireland, St. Patrick's Day, and in the United States with all the immigration, St. Patrick's Day, it was a tradition to tell ghost stories. And in fact, in the Irish Times, in the 1888 edition of the Irish Times, they published a bunch of stories that you could tell to your family on St. Patrick's Day. So I thought that was pretty darn cool. And if you read into it a little bit more, you learn that St. Patrick's Day was one of those days like Halloween for the Celts that who believed that the world of the spirits as well as the material world would intersect on these evenings. And St. Patrick's Day was much like Halloween in that it was one of those days where spirits would walk the night. So it makes sense that ghost stories would be told, right? If that was the general belief, or at least the superstitious belief of the time. And that goes back, decades. I mean, centuries. It goes back centuries. So let's begin by talking a little bit about what type of supernatural Irish creatures or existed. Well, we're all familiar with some, right? The leprechaun, we're all familiar with him. The leprechaun was indeed not what we think about today. We think of him as the little guy with the head, with the hat, and with the pot of gold over the rainbow and all that stuff. Well, originally leprechauns were not the nice guys; they were the bad guys. They were like dark fairies, people that creatures that would rather hurt you than and help you. And I'll show you a picture, a rendition of what they traditionally looked like, which I thought was kind of cool. If I could find it here. This is kind of not a nice guy. You don't want to see this guy wandering around you. As you can see, the gold is in front of him. But he is kind of nasty. And the story goes that there were a race of fairies or elves that originated from the sea and came on shore for some reason. And because of that, they were kind of annoyed at humans being there. When they came on shore, humans were there and they were kind of annoyed about that. So they would not want to be around people. And if you encountered them, they would probably play a trick on you or something to that effect, or try to do something to negatively affect you so that you wouldn't be around them. They didn't want humans around them. Second here. Let's go back to full screen if I can. There we go. And they usually were to have magical powers. Leprechauns were said to have magical powers. And if you caught one of them, you would get wishes by making a deal with them. If you caught them, they were very hard to catch, but if you caught one, you would get 3 wishes because they would want their freedom. So, not your usual leprechauns that we think about in terms of St. Patrick's Day. They're kind of like a nasty little gremlins that were causing havoc back in the day. So, just the thing to remember about that. And leprechauns would be rampant on St. Patrick's Day because again, they're supernatural beings that were walking the earth in one of these evenings where they can easily get around. They feel empowered by the spirit or the power that's in the air empowers them. That day of the year naturally gave them more power. Another creature that is famous in Irish folklore is the banshee. Now, the banshee is kind of a spirit, female, harbinger of death. They call her the harbinger of death. And she also is a dark fairy, but the interesting thing about her, she originally appears, or they appear as beautiful women, and they feed on sadness and suffering and broken hearts and death. So they are usually an omen of bad things happening because they're around to feed off of that negative energy. And if you don't know what a banshee looks like, this is an artist's rendition, a rendition of a banshee that I wanted to share with you. There we go. There she is. A banshee wailing, and it is said that the screams of the banshee could kill people, that they were so high pitched and so powerful that they would break glass, and sometimes it would kill men. So, not a good spirit, also, but an evil one that would usually start off looking like a beautiful woman, but then would turn nasty and turn vicious and could cause a lot of harm to you. And that you usually had to have a Bible with you to protect yourself if you ever came in contact with the banshee. That would be your only defense. So we have our leprechauns and we have our banshees walking the nights or appearing in the nights of St. Patrick's Day. All right. Now, the last one is similar to a banshee. It's also a woman, but it's more like a vampire, and it's called a Lehan She. Lean Hom Sheen. And I'll show you what an artist's rendition of this was. And these are a little bit weirder because they're like vampires, but they're beautiful women, and but they don't bite you like a vampire and take your blood. They'll feed off of your life energy and drain you of your life energy. So here's what one of these looks like. Usually surrounded by bats, like a vampire, and usually cloaked in dark clothing, but looking beautiful, being a beautiful woman, and entrapping men. Having this power over men to entrap them and bring them in, and they will sing songs and charms that would attract men to fall under their power. And if they did get you, they were going to drain you, and you'd find people would find your body drained of all its life force. But if you were to resist it, this is the interesting part of it. If you were to resist one of these creatures, you would control them. In other words, they would become your slave. So it's an interesting concept there. Either you fall for them and you forfeit your life, or you resist them and you get them as your slave, so you would be able to control them. So quite an interesting folklore there hanging around on St. Patrick's Day. All right. So there you have it, your fun little creatures that you might encounter on St. Patrick's Day evening. All right, let's get to some of our stories now. Let me get rid of this. And let me see anyone else come in. Tony the Night Owl, good to see you. Zelda, I think I said hello to you. Good to see you. I don't know if there's anyone else here that I missed. I don't want to miss them. If I did, I apologize. Krumel, good to see you, my friend. All right. Thank you for joining, guys. Appreciate it. All right. Arlene, I almost missed you. There you are, Arlene. All right. Just chilling in the house. Great to see you. All right. All right. Let's get on to our first story. So now our first story is called Haunted Bundharig Manor. Now, this is a story of an old manor that was seated on the Slaney River. And this manor at one time was, in the 1700s, a wealthy lord lived there and had many parties, very well-to-do parties coming in and out in his manor. And in fact, the manor had a circular driveway, a circular roadway, which coaches would come up and bring the guests, and the coachman would open up and the people would come out and they would walk in. And this was such a predominant thing that long after everyone had passed, and this manor was vacant, that these parties would still happen on a nightly basis in a spiritual form. And it was described that that Bunharig Manor would light up at night, and as if there was a party going on inside of it. And that, in fact, you would see coaches pulling up to the front door, through the circular drive, up through the front door, coaches opening, and people waltzing in gowns to begin their evening at the party. And that if you looked and gazed long enough, you looked in the windows, you'd see these people dancing about in there, much like you would in the Walt Disney Haunted Mansion. If you've ever been there and you've ever gone to Walt Disney World and looked at the spirits in the Haunted Mansion dancing around in those old ancient dress, that's what you'd see here. And it would happen on a nightly basis. Well, this went on for many years until a new lord bought the vacant mansion. And what he did was he brought in a Catholic priest, and the Catholic priest held a mass in the hall of the manor. And when that happened, the spirits were driven from the manor itself. However, But the spirits still remained on the outside of the manor, so they seem to have not been able to enter the manor anymore since the Catholic priest blessed it. But they had a problem getting in, but they still hung out on the outside. And they would say at times you'd see the coaches pull up, the ghostly coaches pull up, people would get out, and that they would be turned away at the door. So the story goes that one night, the Lord had hired a new maid, or maid. I don't know what you call them, maid, but also someone that answers the door and stuff like that. Servant maid, I guess, is what you call them. And she was not aware of the activity. So one night, the Lord went out and his family went out, and she was left alone there. And as she was tending for her evening to get ready for evening, she heard noise in the front yard, and she comes out to the door, opens the door, opens the front gate, and sees the coachman coming up the driveway. And she's quite surprised by this until they get close enough that they come out and they're dressed in tricorner hats, much like it's the 1700s. They get out and approach the door. And at that point, she has such a fright that she faints and wakes up the next morning. So this was in recent times, because this was in the 1900s, the 20th century, that this specific tale happened. But the manor goes back to the 1600s. So an interesting tale on how, even though the ghostly parties ceased to happen inside the manor, the ghosts still kept trying to get back in. So Bund Harrig Manor on the Slaney River in Ireland. So interesting story there. All right. Let's go on to our next story. Now, our next story is called The Haunted River of Kilkenny. Now, Kilkenny Island dates back many, think people are on Kilkenny Island, and there's a bridge. It's an island inland in the sense that it's surrounded by a river, the Kilkenny River, and there were bridges that broached the river so people could get from the island to the mainland, so on and so forth. Well, in 1763, there was a devastating flood that hit Ireland, and the river washed out the Greens Bridge. Now, there were two bridges. There was John's Bridge and Greens Bridge. Greens Bridge collapsed, and over 100 people fled the area because of this and went to the opposing bridge, which was John's Bridge. Now, unfortunately, as those people were going over those 100 people were going to John's Bridge, that bridge collapses from the river overflowing and flooding. And what happens is 16 people lose their lives in the river flood when this happens in 1763. Now, since that has happened, there have been reports of ghostly figures that come out of the river Kilkenny and wander the shoreline of the river, especially on misty mornings. They will be, and people will see that they see them rise from the river. So basically, you're looking at the river, and then out of the mist, you'll see these people coming out of the river and walking aimlessly onto the shore as if they're lost. They don't know where they're going or what they're doing. And this is going back over 200 years, actually, right? 250, more than 250 years. And to this day, people still see some of these spirits on foggy or misty mornings. So the haunted river of Kilkenny lives on, or at least the spirits live on in their activity. Excuse me. All right. That's the second story. All right, let's go on to our third story. Now, our third story is called Lady Isabella of Ballygally Castle. Now, I want to show you what Ballygally Castle looks like because it's pretty darn cool. Here we go. All right, here we go. This is Ballygally Castle. it is. I put this on full screen so you could take a look at it. This is actually a hotel now, but this dates back to the year 1625. So it's a pretty old castle or, manor type castle. And it's called Balgali Castle. Balgali Castle. And let me get myself on screen here. Now, the story goes about Isabella. Isabella is the name of the ghost that haunts this castle. Now, the story goes that Lord James Shaw built this castle in 1625 for himself and his wife, Lady Isabella. And this is in Northern Ireland. Shortly after they built the castle and moved in, Isabella became pregnant and with Shaw's child, with the Lord's child. And however, he was desperately wanted a boy. Now, unfortunately, what happened was that she gave birth to a girl. Well, the Lord didn't take kindly to this, and he did a sinister thing. He swipes the baby from her, locks her in the tower, on the top room of one of the towers, takes the baby girl, and gives her to a local nunnery to be raised. A local convent, a nunnery, where she's raised as an orphan. So, as you can imagine, Lady Isabella is devastated by this, devastated by the loss of her daughter. She doesn't know what happened to her. All she knows is that her husband swiped her out of her hands in anger and took her away. And since then, she's been locked in this tower because of her failure to provide him with a male heir. Well, she stays in this tower for a few months, getting weaker and getting more depressed, basically a prisoner. And until one day, the Lord wakes up to find that in the middle of the night, Lady Isabella had leapt from the top window to her demise below in the courtyard. Now, nobody knows what exactly happened, if it was a suicide or if it was an accident, or if the Lord actually pushed her out, which is very likely considering what had happened here. So, anyway, but the fact remains that as a result of this horrible death, of this poor woman's death, that her spirit seems linked to here in that she's wandering about looking for her lost daughter, not knowing what happened to her, hoping that she can somehow find her. And some of the things that are seen here is generally she's a pleasant ghost. Generally, she does not look to scare folks. She does interact with people, those, which is kind of interesting. She's not just a residual haunting. She interacts with folks, and especially if you have a child with you when you're staying at the hotel. People have said if they brought a child with them, a female child, that certain things will happen, and they attribute it to Lady Isabella. Candy will be left for the child, or toys will miraculously appear, and they're usually very old toys that no one knows where they came from. So she's reaching out in the afterlife to try to find her daughter, and in the absence of her daughter, she looks to help young girls, in hopes of acting out her motherly nature. So it's a sad story on what happened to her. But 400 years later, 500 years later, whatever it is, she is still doing this. She's still acting out and trying to find her daughter, who was raised by the nuns. Who knows whatever happened to her? But she never got to see her because she either was pushed out or took her own life. So who knows? So the sad story of Lady Isabella of Ballygally Castle. All right. All right, that's Ballygally. Cool. All right, now let's go on to our next one. Our next one has an even cooler looking castle, I think. Hold on. The castles love to have ghosts, don't they? They just love ghosts. Castles, I think. Um, oh, wait a minute. I never showed you John's Bridge. How come I didn't do that? Come on. I got to get with it. I'm losing my touch here. Hold on. Let me show you what John's Bridge for the Kilkenny ghosts, the Kilkenny River ghosts. This is what John's Bridge looks like now after it was rebuilt. But this is the region here. This is where you will see the ghosts and in the early morning wandering about. This river, the Kilkenny River, very picturesque, very quaint, and even medieval looking. These homes here, these buildings, but you'll see the ghosts appear along the shoreline here and emerge from the water and wander around aimlessly. So interesting little tidbit there. Now the next story is about Leap Castle. And like I said, these castles are pretty darn cool. And I lost the picture of it, so I got to search for it real quick. So bear with me. Here we go. All right, where's my images? There we go. All right, here we go. Now here is, if I may, here is Leap Castle. I'm going to show you. Hold on one second. Stop sharing that. This is pretty cool. This is Leap Castle. Now, it's mostly ruins at this point. It's that old. But let me put it on full screen so you take a look at it. People do visit it and tour it. It's not something you could stay at. It's not like a hotel. It hasn't been turned into a hotel. But this particular castle, it's in County Offaly. County Offaly. Leap Castle in County Offaly. This was built in 1200 AD. So a very, very old structure. Very, very old structure. Let me put that back on. Let me do it like so you can see. Here we go. Very, very old structure, right? And in 1250, actually it was built in 1250, I'm sorry. And over the years, it was originally owned and inhabited by the O'Carroll clan. Now, the O'Carroll clan was a medieval clan in Ireland that was, like any other clan at the time, was vying for power against other clans, warring clans back and forth. And it is said that there is a chapel in here that they call the Bloody Chapel, and that's because of the so many deaths that happen in here. And of course, with so many deaths over the years, that of course it would be haunted to this day. And the story goes that the O'Carroll were two brothers. The leaders of this clan were two brothers, and the one was a priest, and one was the warrior leader of the clan. And it is said that the leader of the clan murdered his brother, who was a priest, right in the chapel while he was performing a mass. You can see how horrible and sacrilegious that must be, to kill your brother to begin with, and then do it in a priest who's a priest in during a mass in a chapel. So just a horrific action to take in the eyes of God, I would think. So, so it's because of that it's said that the ghost of the priest is still seen here in that chapel, looking to complete his mass, which he never got to do because of his unfortunate death at the hands of his vicious and evil brother. And it's said that the brother only did this because he had started the mass before he returned. The brother had left to go do an errand or something. And because the mass had started without him, it was taken as a great insult, and that he felt that he would lose control of the clan because this would have taken away all the support that he received because of the disrespect at his brother's hand by having this mass without him present. So crazy, crazy stuff, but a horrific story. And it's also said that the O'Carrolls, the clan itself, was not a good clan. They would hire mercenaries to fight neighboring clans for them. And when the mercenaries had completed their tasks, they would invite them back to Leap Castle for a wonderful feast. Now, little did these mercenaries know that the O'Carrolls had no intention of paying them because the feast was a feast of poison. And what they would do is poison all of the mercenaries and then cut their throats. This would all happen in the castle. Then they would take their bodies and they would dump them in a corner of it that was like a moat. It would drop down to a moat. So the spirits of these people, and in fact, there were 39 corpses believed to have been thrown down this corridor in the castle who had been brutally murdered there. And they were the McMahon clan that they had murdered there. They had hired them as mercenaries and had murdered them afterwards. Just awful, awful story. Awful people. So as you can tell, the spirits of these murdered mercenaries tend to haunt this castle as well as the priest, the brother of O'Carroll. So an interesting combination there. Mercenaries and a priest sharing a castle for eternity. So that's the story of Leap Castle in County Offaly. County Offaly. Excuse me for these names. I don't know how to pronounce many of these names. It's Offaly, Offaly County. Hello, Stiggs. Hello, Mob Rat Hunter. How are you? And I miss anyone else? I'll take a break here and say hello to anyone I missed. I said hello, Bobo. Good to see you, my friend. Bobo Magooch. Good to see you. All right. Nice to see everyone. Hope I didn't miss anyone. All right. Now, my last ghost story has to do with a battle. Now, Ireland has quite an interesting history around battles that you really don't hear much about because they all took place in the Middle Ages, in the Dark Ages, and a lot of them had to do with Vikings, fighting Vikings, because the Vikings had invaded Ireland and there was a struggle to get rid of them. Now, this battle I'm going to tell you about is called the Battle of Clontarf, and it's in north of Dublin. And this was a very important battle at the time in the year 1014, because this battle is what solidified Ireland as its own nation, I guess. I mean, it's so long ago, I don't even know if you called them nations back there. I guess it was a kingdom, by kicking out the Vikings. And this battle was a decisive battle that kicked out the Vikings. They never really got a foothold again after this battle. So like I said, it takes place in 1014 AD. And at that time, you have an individual by the name of Brian Boru, who was considered himself the High King of Ireland. Now, what he had done, he had consolidated many of the clans in Ireland and had obtained their loyalty, whether by monetary or whatever, by owing debts or what have you. They all swore loyalty to him. Now, however, this did not apply to the Vikings in the north and some Irish clans who were aligned with those Vikings in the north. And for years, they had been battling to try to, King Brian had been trying to get rid of the Vikings. And it all comes to head at this battle. Now, this battle takes place on Good Friday in the year 1014. And it's billed as this is the day that Christ the power of Christ will throw out the pagan Vikings and allow Ireland to exist on its own. So it's a very monumental date, a monumental, high energy, monumental. What's the other word, Lenny? Um, high stakes battle of good versus evil. Good being the Irish that want to have their own kingdom, and the bad is the Viking invaders and those that work with the Vikings. So a pretty terrible battle takes place. Now it begins, like I said, on Good Friday at sunrise on Good Friday, and continues until sunset. And over between 7 to 10,000 men are killed in this battle on this battlefield. And it's right off the coast of Dublin Bay. It's right there where it occurs. And there's a castle there too, which is still there today. And I'm going to show you the castle. It's called Clondorf Castle. Clondorf Castle. It's a beautiful structure. Wait till you see this. Here we go. All right. Where is it? There we go. It's your classic castle. Look at that. It's what you would think it would be. So that's Clondorf Castle. Now, the stories around this battle have been legendary. And they have dealt with what is going on here? There we go. Okay. What they have dealt with so many different supernatural events that happened during this battle because of what was at stake here. So a lot of superstition went into this and came out of it. And it is said that during the battle, the Vikings started out by dipping their arrows in the blood of dragons. They had a dragon from the north that had poisoned blood, and they dipped their arrows into this dragon's blood and used it in the battle in hopes of gaining an advantage. Tales were told of that there were demons and witches on the battlefield itself waiting for people to die. And as they would die, these demons and witches would swoop in to try to grab the souls of those that had perished. So quite a lot of evil going on here as well, right? That there was the Banshee of Munster appeared there. Now, there was one Banshee, like I talked about at the beginning here, of the county of Munster, who was big time, I guess, at the back at that point in history, and that she would appear on the battlefield and would hearken for those who were dying. She would, because of all the loss of life, she would appear and try to suck the life or the life force from these folks as they were dying before they died. So a lot of supernatural stuff going on there. And like I said, it happens all day long. And then finally, what happens is the Vikings end up getting routed, and the Irish are successful. Now, unfortunately, but what occurs is that at the end of the battle, King Brian is in his tent praying when a renegade Viking sneaks into his tent and kills him while he's praying. Now, in addition to that, King Brian's son was also killed in that battle, and so was his grandson killed in that battle. So the family that was to unite and rule Ireland is basically wiped out. The only one that is left is the brother of King Brian, and it turns out he tries to take control after this battle, but perishes. Is overthrown. He can't hold the clans together, and they fall back into disarray and fighting. But the end of the battle occurs when the Vikings are actually driven into the sea, and it is said that so many Vikings were drowning trying to get to their ships that were anchored in Dublin Bay, that many of them perished not even from arrows. I'm sorry, arrows or swords, but just drowned on the way to getting to as they were routed, and the Irish drove them off. So a harrowing battle that became legendary in Ireland. Like I said, it was good versus evil. The home ethnic Irish fighting off and defeating the invading Vikings and some of the clans that were aligned with the Vikings too. So a lot of death from that. So what goes on here on that in that castle or around that castle? It is said that from that castle down to the river's or not river, down to the bay, the beach bay, the beach of the bay, that you will see the Viking spirits in the water coming up from being drowned. That on the land you will see the Irish troops wandering around that had been taken by the witches and the demons. Their souls had been taken, so they're doomed to wander the grounds of Castle Clondorf Castle, and you'll see this repeating itself over and over again. Now, this you have definitely a residual haunting here too, in that the battle itself plays out, they say, at different times in different sections, that you'll hear noises of the battle, you'll hear swords clashing, you'll hear horns blowing, you'll hear screaming and roaring of people, of men fighting. You'll hear all of this occurring outside of Clondorf Castle. So a virtual replay of the battle occurs over and over again. So quite an interesting um, Irish ghost story of magnitude. It's a huge magnitude what occurred here. So there you have it. That's the story of Clondorf Castle in northern Dublin, off the Dublin Bay. So so there's your stories. There were actually 9 of them in total. They're not very long. They're pretty short, but there were 9 of them in total. And there you go. So there you have it. So I don't know if I missed anyone. Bill C, good to see you, Mike. Surviving, good to see you. Thank you for coming by. So hello to Bobo. Zelda. I said hello to all you guys. So what did you think of those stories? Do you think they're interesting? I thought they were pretty darn interesting. And the fact that St. Patrick's Day was a ghost-telling holiday was fascinating to me in Ireland back in the day. Hey, Vincent Capisci, good to see you. Patrick Ortega, good to see you. Yeah, so some of the stuff you see, some of them are sad, some of them are tragic. The lady Isabella is quite a tragic tale. And I think most of them are tragic, right? That's what usually produces a spirit, or at least a legend of a spirit. So there you go. Now, on St. Patrick's Day, you can sit around and tell a ghost story and feel like it's normal. Much like it's Halloween, you can tell a ghost story, right, Lenny? Lenny likes it, St. Patrick's Day specifically for that purpose. Oh, you're welcome, Patty. Appreciate it. Appreciate the compliment or the thanks. I appreciate the thanks. All right. So what is everybody doing for St. Patrick's Day? Anything? I usually do one thing, which is have a shot of Jameson and watch The Quiet Man. That's my tradition because I don't like corned beef and cabbage. I really, really don't like the cabbage. The cabbage stink. That the smell of the cabbage makes me want to vomit. So I don't eat corned beef and cabbage. He does, right? He's got a little thing there. Todd is working. Of course he is. What else is new, right? Watch The Irishman, Zelda. Did you like it? I know Stiggs loves it. I liked it too. I liked that movie too. I'm wondering if you liked it. Oh, you did like it. Okay. Sorry, I didn't read your full comment. So you did like it. Good. So Bobo has the St. Patrick's tradition of corned beef and cabbage. So does sweet tea. Todd Fathers is going to play Mario Brothers after the show. Okay. Long but good movie. Yes, I agree. A long but good movie. Yeah, Patty, you got to watch out for them leprechauns. They're not nice guys. And I tell you, when my kids were young, I used to put out a leprechaun trap and see if we could catch one. And it was great when there was snow on the ground because I would take a little, I would take a, it was a Star Wars, it was a Star Wars figure I had of Boba Fett, and it was about this big, and its feet were about this big. So I'd put prints in the snow as if the leprechaun had come to try to get the treat we left for him, and but escaped and triggered the trap. And they loved it. They always thought they always fell for it. Unblock her? What do you mean? How could she be blocked? What do you mean blocked? Who blocked her? Unblock her? What? That can't be. Who would block her? Did somebody block her by accident? And I thought that I had made her a moderator. How could she be blocked? Ay, ay. I don't even know how to do that from here. I'm gonna have to go into my account. I I I, I don't even know how to find that from my phone. Um, I don't. Yeah, I can't do that. Well, I'm sorry, Jimena. I don't know how that happened. I don't know if someone did that because I certainly did not do that. But I will take care of it as soon as I'm done here. I'll go into the laptop and do it. Plant-based corned beef and cabbage, is that a real thing? Come on, that can't be real. Plant-based corned beef and cabbage. Her comments aren't showing up. I don't know, man. I don't know how this happens. Maybe somebody did it by accident, and it would have to be it would have to be a managing moderator. So it would have to be Stiggs, Todd, or Thindu, or Gerard, because those are my managing moderators, and they would not do it on purpose. But I'll take care of it. Yeah, I can't see it from here. I can't see where that would be from here, unfortunately. Some basil on the cabbage that makes it plant based. Yeah, why not? That'll work. That'll work. All right, so shall we do some? Do have a couple of paranormal videos if you want to take a look at them and see what you think. Tofu pretend meats. Yeah, yep. But are they? But have you seen them made to look like corned beef? Hmm, I don't know about that. All right, let's see what I got here. Now, let's save that one for last. All right. What do we got here? Hold on here. All right. Let's do this one first. This is a still shot. Let me tell you what you think about this. This is a still shot. Now, this was taken on a trail cam or like a camera in someone's backyard. Now, in this picture, you see obviously you see a bit of a this was a trail cam, I guess, on a on a tree stump or tree trunk. And as you can see, you see two orbs, right? And then you have this figure in the middle. Now, the person that took this figure said that there's no way it would be a person walking by because, they live in a very remote area and no one will be walking in their backyard. Now, I don't know. It could be what it be. But if you look at this, it looks to me like a woman, as if she's wearing, like, here, she's looking towards the camera. She's walking this way, and then she's got one of those round hats, those, like, I don't know what you would call those, bonnets on, and she's walking this way, and here's her arm, and she's turning and looking, and at the same time, you have these two orbs that are surrounding her. So I don't know. Hey, Toro, how are you? So I don't know. What do you think of this? Do you think this is legitimate? I mean, it could be just a person walking by, but the head itself looks kind of translucent as opposed to the body. The body looks a little more solid. But the orbs are what make this a little bit different, the orbs around it. So I don't know. What do you think? Yes or no? Thumbs up, thumbs down. I agree, David. Looks like a woman. The question is, do you think it's a ghostly woman or if it's just a woman that happened to be walking by? Tony, yes, it does look like an old time dress, right? Old time dress and the hat, too. Like, you wouldn't see a modern person wearing a hat like that. I don't think you would. And at night, wearing a hat like that at night, I mean, that's like a sun hat to keep the sun out of your eyes. So I don't know. It's kind of convincing to me. If you believe the person, it's convincing because there was no reason to have a person behind there. They live in a rural area. This is a trail cam on a tree in their backyards, pointing to the woods behind their house, and they find this on it. So I don't know. Pretty good, I think. That's a pretty good one. I can't debunk it. Let's put it that way. I cannot debunk this one. So I'll give that one a thumbs up because I can't debunk it. All right. Let's go on to my next one here. What's my next one here? Hold on. Here it is. Where is it? Wait a minute. Where is it? Okay, here's the next one. Hold on. Here we go. All right, now the story behind this, and there's no way to verify it, but the story behind this is that this is a hospital in South America, and that this bed here is a person lying on this bed who they later find out had passed away, and the security camera caught the following. So watch it. You could see it's pretty faint, but you could see it looks like a spirit coming out of the body and then rising up out of the body. It's hard to see because this is so small, but you could see that you can see it though. You can see the spirit coming out of there. So I don't know. I think if this is not real, it's a scam. It is a hoax because you could see the spirit come out and take off. It would have to be some type of CGI or some type of camera manipulation that would cause it. So let's get rid of that. All right. Now, let's go back to my last one. My last one is pretty cool. This is also small, though. I don't know why this is coming out small. It's kind of annoying me. But nonetheless, let's do it. Now, you remember in the past we showed some Gettysburg videos, which I thought were pretty legitimate. This is another one from Gettysburg. So pay close attention to this one. This is going to be small too, but I'm going to try my best here. All right, it's kind of dark. And if I put it on full screen, it's not going to help much. Yeah, it doesn't help much. So, but watch over here. Watch over here. Watch over here. These are cannons. I don't know if you can see the cannons. I'm going to play the video. You tell me what you see. If hopefully you can see it. Hold on. Hold on. Here we go. I don't think you can see it. This one's no good. Well, anyway, there's a spirit. It looks like a spirit hanging around near here. I don't know. You know what I'll do? Next time I'll try to redo this one so that it's bigger so you could see it. There's no way you could possibly see it the way it is because it's a very faint thing. It's a very faint. It looks like a soldier. So I mean, it's to me these are the believable ones, but I'll get that to you next time so that you guys can take a good look at it because that's not really watchable at all. It's not good. All right. All right. All right. Well, Arlene, you could have you saw it. Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, it was very small. Um. Do I have glorious Irish DNA? um. Yeah, I have one. I am 1/16 Irish. Yes, if you want to call that Irish. I'm 75% Italian, and the remaining quarter is Russian, German, and Irish. So there you have it. Those are the only ones I had this week. It's hard to find these things. I could waste your time with crap, but I won't. I won't do that. That's not worth it. I don't want to do that. The idea is to have something that's decent looking. That's the idea. Something that could possibly be real, and then try to debunk it. So what do you think, Lenny? I think Lenny had a good time. I hope every one of you had a good time too. So I saw some talk about potatoes. What was going on with the potatoes? Something about the type of potatoes you make or something. I don't know. I missed that before. Oh, sweet tea. That's interesting. Really, a DNA test. I've never done a DNA test. I'm not going to do it because I don't like the fact that I'm sharing my DNA and I don't know where it's going to go. So I would never find out my DNA that way, unless it could be done in some type of private test where, nobody they don't keep any of the results, and I can assure that it's not being shared with anyone. That's the only way I'd ever do it. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate that. Yeah, so I thought these tales were kind of cool. I mean, the there's a lot more ghost tales around battles. I just picked that one battle out because it's such a monumental battle in Irish history that I thought that was really cool. And the supernatural theories or the supernatural legends that go along with it were also very cool. But there's plenty of, if you're interested, you can find battle stories from Ireland that have ghosts related to just about every one of them from the Middle Ages, during the time of the Viking invasion and such. So it's good stuff, good reading. If you ever find that interesting, I do. But if you don't, well, whatever. But if you do, it's definitely good reading, and it's quite interesting, especially on St. Patrick's Day when you're thinking things Irish, and why not delve into the history a little bit? That's what I always say. Oh, thank you, surviving. Good for you. I mean, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate that. The potato famine of Ireland, yes. I mean, the whole story. The thing that fascinates me about the potato famine, and this has nothing to do with ghosts, but I'm sure there's ghost stories about that too. I've just never looked into them. But there is an Irish term that most people won't even know. I don't even know if you could look it up on the internet and get an answer from it. But the term is super. Soup as in soup you eat, super. And this was a term they would use, the Irish Catholics would use this to describe anyone who, during the potato famine, had sold their soul, as what they would say, for a bowl of soup. So during that time, the English would come and set up these tents and have a big bowl of soup, and all you had to do was renounce your Catholicism, and they would feed you. And this is how they got a foothold in Northern Ireland, primarily, is through this practice. And the term supers came out of that. And it's a very old term. And I learned it back in college when I took a course by the name of Irish Stage, and it was going over Irish plays. And that's where I learned that term. And I could never find it anywhere. Like, I could never find it anywhere. But it's indeed a term that was used at the time. Now, there is a movie that I'm going to recommend to you guys to see. I think it's called Black 40 something or other. And basically it's a tale about the Irish famine. I mean, the Irish famine is the backdrop to this, but the tale is really about an Irishman who goes to fight for the English. He goes to fight for them. And he comes back from his service and he finds that the famine had destroyed his family. His family had died and froze to death. They were thrown out by English landlords, etc. And he goes on a rampage of revenge. So it's a really cool movie. You should look it up. Black 40 or something like Black 40 something. I'll find it and I will put it. Maybe I'll put it in the comments or something. But definitely check it out. It's a very cool movie because it's historical, and it's also like a kind of like a Rambo movie, like a revenge movie where where you root for the guy that's doing the killing here because of what had happened to him. So it's really cool. And in that they have a scene where the English had set up a tent and had their big bowl of soup cooking, and people were coming in listening to the sermon, and he comes in there, and the Protestant priest, the Protestant minister is there saying, come on in, and hands him a mislet and tells him to sit down and says, we don't eat until we're done. And this guy obviously doesn't care whatsoever. He's there and he's going to do what he wants to do. And he goes in there and he starts eating the soup, and they try to throw him out. And the other Irish that are there are saying, don't spoil it for us. We won't get any soup. And then he, as you could tell, you'll know I don't have to tell you what he's going to do, but he's going to take some action to make sure those people get their soup and that they don't have to turn to be Protestants. So an interesting, a cool movie. I really like it. So you should check it out if you can. Yes, Patrick. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bobo, no soup for you. Yeah, exactly. You have to renounce your Catholicism to get soup. I mean, a lot of things too. A lot of Northern Ireland too are not ethnically Irish these days. They're usually a lot of them are misplaced or misplaced Scottish that the English settled there and settled them there. A lot of them are not really genetically ethnically Irish, even though they're Irish citizens and blah blah blah. They're really descended from Scots. So Black 47, yes, there you go, Gerard. Black 47. That's it. Thank you. That's the name of it. So watch that movie if you can. It's not that long. It's a decent. It's not that long of a movie. But if you like historical movies, you'll love it. I think you will. Oh yeah, and yeah, exactly. Well, Patrick, the Fighting 69th, the Fighting 69th during the Civil War was a major thing, right? They're major. That's an Irish brigade during the Civil War, made up of all Irish immigrants. You're talking about the Revolutionary War. There was less of them at that time, obviously, but they were still there. They were still fighting for the British. They were fighting for the British. A lot of the Irish fought for the Confederacy too, because they were more welcome to practice Catholicism in the South. So they fought for the Confederacy. They weren't in favor of slavery, but it's just that's where they went. That's where they migrated. Maryland was a county, a state that was allowed to be Catholic. It was a colony that was allowed Catholicism. So many of the Irish went to Maryland. Even though I don't think Maryland was part of the Confederacy, but it's the border. It's on the border of the Confederacy. I don't think it actually. I don't think it seceded Maryland. Tony, you can find it. I don't know where it is. I mean, I'm sure you can find it. I don't know if it's on YouTube. I have no clue. It's not that old of a movie, so it may not be on YouTube. I mean, it's got to be like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old now, maybe. I mean, it's not a brand new movie, and it's not an old movie either. Yes, it was a border state, but it didn't concede. It did not secede, right, Gerard? It didn't secede. I don't believe it did. I mean, most of the state was pro Confederacy, but I don't think it ever seceded officially. So surviving, you're saying that the famine came from South America? How did that happen? That's interesting. Oh, The Quiet Man is awesome, Bill C. I can't wait to watch it. I'll be watching that on Monday. I have it recorded and I will watch it on Monday. I love that movie. I love John Wayne and I love that movie. It's just a great movie. I will definitely be watching. That's my tradition. That's my tradition. Right, Gerard. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Gerard. Right. It did not secede, right? But I got to look into this now. That surviving said that the famine was caused by South America. That's how the hell did that happen? That's interesting. Oh, it's a lot of fun, Bill C. It's a lot of fun, that movie. What state is next surviving? I don't know. I haven't thought about it. I'll have to look around and see. I'll get a thumbnail up. I'll get a thumbnail up. Hey, Sliminy, good to see you, my friend. I assume you're going on later. Going on at 10, as usual. Yeah, Gerard. Surviving said that she said the potato famine was caused from something in South America. I don't know. I don't know what that. That's why I said I have to look into it. I don't know what. I don't know. So Slim is going live at 10. Check him out. Check out Sliminy's channel at 10 p.m. All right, guys. Well, listen, I appreciate you. I hope you had a great time tonight. I enjoyed telling these stories. I hope you liked them. And on behalf of Lenny and Victor, we want to say happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm sorry my Irish music did not play at the beginning. I don't know what that's all about, why it did not play, but it was cool too. It was non-copyrighted, cool, modern Irish music. And it didn't play. Why doesn't it play? That's not cool at all. I don't like that. But anyway, I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Yes, we did. Yes. I think you're probably going to see a whole new Irish migration to the United States now that she's over there. Oh, boy. Bobo says the ghosts prevented the music. I guess it's possible. Who knows? Who knows? So it was a mold strain that caused the famine. So you're saying that it came on a ship, I guess? Came on a ship from South America? I guess, right? That's how it would have to have happened. Hello, Joe Della. Good to see you. Hi, Suzanne. Good to see you. Yes, Tony. Yes, Rose. Yes. No. It was yeah, Rosie left. Yeah, Rosie left for Ireland. Poor Ireland. Yes. Yes, Suzanne. Lenny is here and ready to go. Well, he was here. Right? And Victor. Victor. Hold on. Let me get Victor down here. As you can see, Victor has his own little hat, which he will enthusiastically be wearing. All right. You get over there. What are you doing over here, Victor? Where are we going to put you? Put you over here for now. Eileen is heartbroken. Well, anyway, thank you guys. I will always appreciate you attending. So I'm going to blow out my candles and say, Erin go bra to you, top of the morning, and kiss the Blarney Stone while you're at it. And happy St. Patrick's Day from Lenny and Victor and myself. God bless, and I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful night and a wonderful weekend.